Be me, 42, medical director at Community Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. Salary, $245,000. MD with specialization in internal medicine. Hospital is called Piedmont Regional Medical Center, 280 beds, level 3 trauma. We serve about 300,000 people in greater Charlotte area, crucial community resource. Been a physician for 16 years. Worked my way up from resident to attending to leadership. Got promoted to medical director 3 years ago. Oversee all physician hiring and credentialing. This is the power position. This is where I can make real structural change. Hospital has 85 physicians across all specialties: surgery, ER, ICU, cardiology, oncology. When I arrived as medical director, surgical department was 14 doctors, 12 men, 2 women. That's 86% male, completely unacceptable in modern medicine. General surgery, orthopedic surgery, cardiothoracic surgery, all male-dominated. The 2 female surgeons were excellent, but marginalized, given fewer complex cases. Old guard protecting their territory, keeping women out of or leadership. I experienced this myself in residency, being questioned, having my skills doubted. Male attendings treating female residents like we didn't belong in surgery. Had to be perfect while they could be mediocre, classic double standard. Now, I have power to change this, to open doors that were closed to me. First year as medical director, I observe, document, build relationships. Both female surgeons, Dr. Lisa Park and Dr. Jennifer Hassan, are frustrated. We're capable of complex procedures, but always get assigned routine cases. Chief of Surgery, Dr. Robert Williams, doesn't trust us with high-risk patients. Dr. Williams, 58, been Chief of Surgery for 12 years, old-school surgeon. Brilliant technically, but definitely has biases about women in surgery. I've heard him say things like surgery is physically demanding, women struggle. Or female surgeons have families, can't commit to emergency cases. Textbook sexism, exactly what needs to be addressed. Year 2, I start taking control of hiring process for physicians. Hospital CEO gives me full authority over credentialing and recruitment. You're a physician, you know what we need, trust your judgment. Perfect, this is exactly the leverage I need. First opportunity comes when orthopedic surgeon retires, position opens up. Chief of Surgery recommends 3 candidates from national search. Dr. James Mitchell, 38, fellowship trained, 8 years experience, excellent references. Dr. David Chun, 35, fellowship trained, 6 years experience, strong clinical record. Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, 32, fellowship trained, 3 years experience, good recommendations. Traditional hiring would choose Dr. Mitchell, most experienced, proven track record. But traditional hiring perpetuates male dominance in surgery. I push for Dr. Rodriguez. She brings fresh perspective and excellent skills. Chief of Surgery Objects, Mitchell has twice her experience. Rodriguez is fellowship trained and fully qualified. We need gender diversity. Credentialing committee votes 4-3 to hire Rodriguez. I barely get it through. Dr. Williams is unhappy but professional, trains Rodriguez on procedures. She's competent but clearly learning, hasn't done some complex orthopedic cases. Makes a few minor errors in first months, nothing catastrophic but concerning. Dr. Williams brings it up in department meeting. She needs more supervision. All new surgeons need adjustment period. She's doing fine. Month 8, general surgery position opens, another retirement. This time I'm more assertive, don't want committee pushback. 3 candidates again, 2 highly experienced men, 1 woman with less experience. Dr. Sarah Thompson, 34, for years post-fellowship, solid but limited trauma experience. The male candidates both have 10+ years experience, extensive trauma backgrounds. We're a level 3 trauma center, trauma experience matters for general surgery. But if I always defer to experience, we'll never achieve gender balance. Push Thompson through credentialing. This time vote is 5-2 in my favor. I'm building support on committee. They're starting to see things my way. Dr. Williams is frustrated. This is a trauma center. We need experienced surgeons. Dr. Thompson is qualified and capable. She'll learn our protocols. Thompson starts. She's enthusiastic and smart, but trauma is different beast. High-pressure situations, life or death decisions, need experience and instinct. Year 3, I accelerate the hiring strategy, become more intentional. Cardiothoracic surgery position opens. This is most prestigious specialty. Heart surgery, high-risk patients, requires years of training and experience. Get 5 applications, 4 from highly experienced male surgeons. 1 from Dr. Emily Chong, 36, fellowship trained, but only 5 years experience. The male candidates are extraordinary, 12 to 15 years experience, top programs. 1 trained at Mayo Clinic, another at Cleveland Clinic, both legendary programs. Dr. Chong trained at good program, but not elite, solid credentials, not exceptional. Traditional hiring. Mayo Clinic guy gets it without question. But I'm not doing traditional hiring. I'm building equitable department. Present Dr. Chong to committee. She's qualified and we need another woman. Dr. Williams actually stands up. This is heart surgery, not a diversity experiment. Patients' lives are at stake. We need the most experienced surgeon available. Dr. Chong is fully credentialed for this position. She has 1/3 the experience of the other candidates. Experience isn't everything. Fresh perspectives matter. Committee is split. It's heated debate, but I convinced them. Dr. Chong is hired. Dr. Williams is furious, threatens to resign. CEO talks him down. Give her a chance. She comes highly recommended. Dr. Chong starts. She's nervous. Heart surgery is peak of surgical complexity. Even simple cases can become emergencies, need veteran judgment. Over next 18 months, I hire 3 more female surgeons. Each time, choosing less experienced women over more experienced men. Not because the women aren't qualified, they all meet minimum credentials. But they're not the most qualified, not by objective standards. My justification. Historical bias has given men more opportunities for experience. Time to level the playing field. Give women the chances men always had. Surgery department is now 14 doctors, 6 men, 8 women. Flipped from 86% male to 57% female in 3 years. I'm proud of this. This is transformation. This is progress. But I'm also noticing problems, small problems becoming bigger. Surgical complication rates are up 15% over 3-year period. Not catastrophic, but concerning, consistently trending wrong direction. Dr. Williams brings it up in quality review meetings. We're seeing more complications, more revisions, longer recovery times. All hospitals have complications. These numbers are within acceptable range. They're at the high end of acceptable and getting worse. We're training new surgeons. There's always a learning curve. Month 24, first serious incident happens. 72-year-old man comes to ER with acute appendicitis, needs emergency appendectomy. Dr. Thompson, the general surgeon I hired, is on call that night. She performs the surgery. It's supposed to be routine. She's done dozens. But patient has unusual anatomy. Appendix is in different location. She doesn't recognize it in time, perforates the bowel during exploration, realizes the error, tries to repair it, but damage is significant. Patient develops sepsis post-op, spends 2 weeks in ICU. Survives, but with permanent complications, will need follow-up surgeries. Quality Review Committee investigates, determines it was surgeon error. Dr. Thompson missed the anatomical variation and proceeded too aggressively. A more experienced surgeon might have identified the issue sooner. Dr. Williams is blunt in the review. This is why experience matters. She's only done 200 appendectomies. I've done 2,000. I would have recognized that anatomy immediately. I defend Thompson. Even experienced surgeons make errors. Yes, but at lower rates, that's what experience means. Thompson is devastated, takes the complication hard, questions herself. I reassure her, this is a learning experience. You'll be better for it. But privately, I'm worried. What if Williams is right about experience? Month 28, second incident. This one is worse. 58-year-old woman needs cardiac bypass surgery, 3-vessel disease. High-risk patient, diabetic, hypertensive, but surgery is necessary. Dr. Chong, the cardiothoracic surgeon I hired, takes the case. She's done maybe 100 bypass surgeries, decent number, but not extensive. Surgery starts normally, she opens chest, begins bypass grafting. But patient's coronary arteries are calcified, extremely fragile. Suturing the grafts is delicate, requires experienced touch. Dr. Chong is struggling, vessels are tearing, bleeding is significant. She calls for help. Dr. Williams scrubs in to assist. By the time he takes over, patient has lost significant blood. They complete the surgery, but patient never recovers from the blood loss. Dies in ICU 3 days later, multiple organ failure from prolonged hypotension. Family is devastated. Patient was their mother, had grandchildren. Mortality Review Committee examines the case thoroughly. Surgical technique was adequate, but not optimal for calcified vessels. More experienced surgeon might have handled fragile anatomy better. Dr. Williams is direct. Chong has done 100 bypasses. I've done 800. I've seen calcified vessels hundreds of times. She hasn't. Experience isn't optional in heart surgery. It's essential. Dr. Chong is distraught, considers leaving surgery altogether. I try to support her. This was a high-risk patient. Bad outcome was possible. But was it preventable with more experience, she asks. I don't answer because I don't know, or maybe I don't want to know. Month 32, third incident, patterns are forming. 44-year-old man, car accident, multiple orthopedic injuries. Needs emergency surgery on fractured femur and shattered pelvis. Dr. Rodriguez, the orthopedic surgeon I hired, takes the case. It's complex trauma. Hardware placement is critical for proper healing. She spends 6 hours in or places multiple plates and screws. Surgery appears successful. Patient stabilizes, goes to recovery. But post-op imaging shows misalignment in pelvis. Hardware is suboptimal. Patient will have chronic pain, limited mobility, needs revision surgery. Orthopedic review determines technique was flawed, approach was wrong. Should have used different fixation method for this injury pattern. Dr. Williams reviews the case. This is advanced trauma orthopedics. Rodriguez has done maybe 50 complex trauma cases, needs more experience. Patient's family is angry, hires attorney, looking at malpractice suit. Hospital legal team is worried. This is third significant complication. We're seeing pattern of surgical errors by recently hired surgeons. Month 36, fourth incident. This is the beginning of the end. 68-year-old woman with abdominal pain. CT scan shows intestinal obstruction. Needs emergency exploratory surgery to remove blockage. Dr. Thompson, general surgeon, takes the case again. Opens abdomen, finds massive adhesions from previous surgeries. Tries to carefully separate adhesions to reach obstruction, but accidentally nicks the intestine in 2 places while working. Doesn't identify one of the perforations, closes abdomen. Patient develops peritonitis, becomes septic, requires emergency second surgery. Dies 2 days later from overwhelming infection and septic shock. Family is destroyed, didn't even know surgery was that risky. Mortality review is devastating, preventable death. Surgical technique was hasty. Perforation should have been identified. Second look should have been performed given extent of adhesions. Dr. Thompson is in pieces. I killed her, I made mistakes, and she died. 2 deaths now in 8 months. Hospital quality metrics are alarming. State Medical Board opens investigation. They review all recent surgical deaths. Month 38, fifth incident, the catastrophic one. 52-year-old man, heart attack, needs emergency coronary artery bypass. Dr. Chong is on call. She's the only cardiothoracic surgeon available. Patient is unstable. Surgery is extremely high risk, but it's only chance. Family consents, understands risks, hopes for the best. Dr. Chong opens chest, begins surgery, but patient's heart is severely damaged. Tissue is friable. Sutures are pulling through, grafts won't hold. She's trying everything, calling for help, but it's going wrong. Patient's heart gives out on the table, can't be restarted. Dies in or never makes it to recovery. Dr. Chong is traumatized, comes out of or in tears. This is her second surgical death in a year. Career is probably over. 5 deaths in 3 years, all involving surgeons I hired. State Medical Board investigation intensifies. They're looking at everything. Reviewing all surgical cases, complication rates, mortality rates. Comparing our hospital to state averages, the numbers are bad. Our surgical mortality is 40% higher than state average for similar hospitals. Complication rates are 35% higher. Revision surgery rates are up 50%. Board interviews all surgeons, reviews credentialing decisions. They interview me, ask about hiring practices for surgical staff. How do you evaluate surgical experience versus board certification? Board certification is the primary requirement. Experience varies. But some surgeons you hired had significantly less experience than other candidates. Experience alone doesn't determine quality. Perspective matters too. What perspective are you referring to? Can't say gender. Can't admit what I was really doing. Diverse backgrounds, different training approaches, fresh ideas. Do you believe any of the surgical deaths were related to surgeon inexperience? This is the question I've been avoiding for 3 years. All 5 deaths involve high-risk patients. Bad outcomes were possible. But were they preventable with more experienced surgeons? Long pause. Don't want to answer, but they're waiting. Possibly, but we can't know for certain. Medical Board completes investigation. Issues findings, they're brutal. Piedmont Regional Medical Center showed pattern of hiring surgeons with insufficient experience. Credentialing process prioritized factors other than clinical competence and experience. Medical Director Dr. My name demonstrated poor judgment in surgeon selection. 5 patient deaths showed common factor. Inexperienced surgeons handling complex cases. Recommendations are severe, hospital probation, required remediation plan. My medical license is suspended pending further review. Hospital board holds emergency meeting. I'm required to attend. The state investigation found systematic problems with surgical hiring. Problems that you as medical director were responsible for addressing. CEO is devastated. 5 people died. Families are destroyed. We're facing 5 wrongful death lawsuits. Potential liability is $15 million. Our reputation in the community is destroyed. Patients are leaving. Board member, who's an attorney, speaks up. Why did you hire inexperienced surgeons? I didn't hire inexperienced surgeons. I hired qualified board-certified surgeons who had significantly less experience than other available candidates. Experience isn't the only factor in hiring decisions. In surgery, it's the primary factor. Lives depend on surgical skill and judgment. Another board member, a physician himself, what were you prioritizing instead? Can't lie now. Investigation found everything they probably know. I was working to increase gender diversity in surgical department by hiring less experienced female surgeons over more experienced male surgeons. That's not diversity. That's negligence. 5 families paid the price. Hospital board votes unanimously to terminate me as medical director. Also recommend to state board that my medical license be permanently revoked. Your decisions led directly to preventable patient deaths. You prioritize politics over patient safety. That's unforgivable. State Medical Board holds hearing on my license. It's public. It's humiliating. Families of the 5 patients who died are there. They testify. Mother of the 52-year-old man who died during heart surgery. My son had his whole life ahead of him. He deserved the best surgeon. Instead, he got someone who wasn't ready for that complexity because the medical director cared more about gender than experience. Husband of 68-year-old woman who died from surgical errors. My wife of 45 years died from mistakes that could have been prevented. She trusted the hospital, trusted that surgeons were qualified. They weren't. They were learning, and she paid with her life. Each family, each story, each preventable death laid at my feet. Medical board deliberates, comes back with decision. Doctor, my name, we are permanently revoking your medical license. Your decisions as medical director led to 5 preventable patient deaths. You prioritized non-clinical factors over patient safety and clinical competence. You are prohibited from practicing medicine in North Carolina permanently. License is gone. Career is over. 16 years of training and practice ended. Can't practice medicine, can't work in hospitals, can't use my MD. Lawsuits are filed. I'm named personally in 3 of the 5 wrongful death cases. Hospital settles for $12 million total. Insurance covers most, but not all. My personal liability is $600,000. Have to sell my house, liquidate retirement. From $245,000 salary to nothing. From medical director to unemployable. Start looking for any healthcare work, administration, consulting, anything. No one will hire me. License revocation follows me everywhere. Former medical director whose hiring decisions led to patient deaths. That's my Google search result. That's what everyone sees. 6 months after license revocation, working as medical billing coordinator. $52,000. Processing insurance claims at corporate office. No patient contact. From MD to billing clerk. From saving lives to coding CPT numbers. It's soul-crushing. Everything I work for is gone. 1 year later, see article about Piedmont Regional Medical Center. Hospital rebuilds surgical department after patient death scandal. They hired Dr. James Mitchell, the orthopedic surgeon I rejected 3 years ago. Hired the Mayo Clinic cardiothoracic surgeon I passed over for Dr. Chong. Brought in experienced general surgeons with extensive trauma backgrounds. Article says surgical mortality rates are down 50% from peak. Complication rates are back to state average. Reputation is recovering. Dr. Williams was promoted to Vice President of Medical Affairs. He's quoted, "Patient safety requires clinical excellence above all other considerations. We hire surgeons based on competence, experience, and outcomes. Everything else is secondary to keeping patients safe." The female surgeons I hired, most of them left surgery or moved to smaller hospitals. Dr. Thompson left surgery completely, works in occupational medicine now. Dr. Chong is at small rural hospital doing much simpler cardiac cases. Dr. Rodriguez moved to outpatient clinic, does only routine orthopedics. They're practicing at levels appropriate for their experience now. But they were damaged by being put in positions they weren't ready for. And 5 patients died because I put them there. 2 years after revocation, I'm 44, still doing billing work. Make $56,000, small raises, nowhere near physician salary. Medical school debt is still there, $180,000, can barely make minimum payments. Think about those 5 patients every day, their faces in testimony. The mother crying about her son who died during heart surgery. The husband talking about his wife of 45 years dying from surgical errors. They trusted us, trusted that we hired the best surgeons available. I hired based on gender instead of competence. Dr. Chong wasn't ready for complex cardiac cases. She needed more experience. But I gave her that position anyway because I wanted gender balance. And a 52-year-old man died on her operating table. Dr. Thompson needed more trauma training, more supervision, more time. But I pushed her into high-risk surgery because I wanted women in leadership. And a 68-year-old woman died from her surgical errors. All 5 deaths had one common factor: inexperienced surgeons handling complex cases. Inexperienced because they were early in their careers, needed more training. But given high-risk positions because I prioritized their gender over their readiness. That's the truth, the painful truth, the deadly truth. I killed 5 people through my hiring decisions. Not directly, but causally, undeniably. Medical board was right to revoke my license. I made patient care secondary to political goals. Made survival chances dependent on surgeons' gender instead of skill. And 5 families buried their loved ones because of it. 3 years later, I'm 45, still doing billing work. The families won their lawsuits. I pay my portion, I'm broke. Living in small apartment, driving old car, eating ramen. From medical director, making $245,000, to billing clerk, making $56,000. From respected physician to revoked license and cautionary tale. Google my name, articles about the patient deaths come up first. Medical directors' diversity hiring led to 5 preventable deaths. That's my legacy. That's all I'm known for. Not for my 16 years in medicine, not for patients I helped, just for the 5 who died because I hired the wrong surgeons. For the wrong reasons, with the wrong priorities. Dr. Williams tried to warn me. He said experience matters in surgery. He said patient safety requires clinical excellence above all else. He was right, completely right, and I didn't listen. Because I thought he was just protecting male privilege. Thought his concerns about experience were cover for bias. Turns out he was just trying to keep patients alive. With surgeons who had the skill and experience to handle complexity. That's what matters in surgery. Not gender, not diversity, not representation. Just competence, experience, and judgment under pressure. All the things the surgeons I rejected had in abundance. And the surgeons I hired were still developing. Now I live with this knowledge every day. That 5 people died preventable deaths. Because I valued representation over competence. Because I thought gender mattered more than experience. Because I was so sure I was correcting injustice. That I created the ultimate injustice, preventable death. That's what I'll carry forever, at 45, making $56,000. Processing insurance claims, no longer a physician. No longer able to save lives or make medical decisions. Because when I had that power, I used it for politics instead of patients. And 5 people died, and their families will never forgive me. And I'll never forgive myself for choosing ideology over outcomes and calling it progress, when really it was just negligence, dressed in the language of equity, but resulting in death. That's my story, my failure, my permanent guilt. 5 patient deaths that I caused, not with a scalpel, but with hiring decisions that prioritized everything, except keeping patients alive.